Welcome to the Overcomers Overcoming podcast series, where we profile those who are overcoming and those who have overcome various life topics. I am Ron Cooper, along with my wife and business partner, Marty, of the Cooper Culture, who is sponsoring this series. Many people who have overcome life events have inspired me to produce this series. We want you to know you are not alone in whatever you're experiencing. Life has taught me that everyone has a story that someone needs to hear. Join us as we profile those who choose to be a lifestyle chainbreaker. Let's engage their story to inspire us and others within our circle of influence. Hi, welcome to our podcast, Overcomers Overcoming. We have with us a very special guest. Sean, good to have you with us.
Nice to meet you. Good to be here.
Sean, can you walk us through your background just a little bit? My understanding is that you have been drug addicted. Can you just walk us through a little bit of how things got to that point?
I grew up in a small town, Elkton, Maryland. Had a very loving, caring family. We did a lot of family vacations, boating, sports, things of that nature. Just briefly, after the sports wore off and into high school, I just got in with the wrong crowd. I wanted to fit in, never felt like I fitted in, and it just seemed that the kids that I clicked the most with were the ones that were not doing the right thing.
Sean, it's becoming a common theme with some, not everybody, that I just didn't feel that I fit in. Some people I have told me low confidence, low self-image, that kind of thing. Can you look back and just, can you rationally explain why it is you felt you didn't fit in or that kind of thing?
I guess isolation played a part in why I didn't feel like I fit in. I just didn't really want to be around people. I didn't like people. I still struggle with that to this day.
Okay.
That was my biggest factor.
All right. So then you somewhat isolated yourself, and what got you started in drugs? Can you describe the people, the process, or however it was that got you addicted?
For me, it started out with looking back and learning about my addictions. For me, it started with cigarettes, and I took that to the extreme. I was always hanging out with older crowds. That older crowd just so happened to use, abuse, and sell marijuana. Very quickly I was involved in that. Before I even knew it, I was selling it. And that became a thing which led to progressive, very fast progressive other addictions.
Is it fair to say, Sean, that you felt accepted somewhat quickly with this group that you were in, however many it was?
Absolutely. Looking at it, I was doing their dirty work, making them money, thinking it was cool. It really wasn't the cool thing to do. Looking back, I wish I could change things, but this is how I ended up, and this is how we sit here.
Sean, I'm going to believe that, yes, well, the past is what it is. However, we can learn from the past, take lessons learned, and we can affect in a positive way, a lot of people, and that's what you're doing right now with the audience that we have. That with you telling your story, there may be others who say, because Sean took me through his story, I'm right where Sean was at the time, and Sean is telling me what it's like to be all the way through it, and I'm going to make the decision not to do it. But Sean, you've been, how many years were you addicted to drugs?
Let's see, drugs started at the age of 14, so I'm really going on 22 years. I battled a 17-year heroin addiction. We'll get back to that. After the weed, it went to friends that were into prescription pills. My friend's mother had a ton of them. They were readily available. She distributed them to us like they were Skittles. And that went on for quite a few years.
So Sean, it started out just a little bit and then progress to a whole lot more is what it sounds like you're saying. Is was that kind of the progression?
Yeah, it progressed to the point where when my use of those prescription pills became so great that my friend's mother couldn't even keep up with, my addiction. That's when I turned to heroin, and that was at the age of like 17.
All right. Now, in hindsight, was your mother supporting your drug habit?
No, my parents never supported my drug habit. Well, not directly. Indirectly, later on, we'll get to that. But this was a friend's parents that I just hung around.
All right. Take me through the progression, Sean, and there's more to this. It seems that it's still building up to, you're not at the breaking point yet.
Yeah, absolutely not. It went on for many years. After the pills, then I was introduced to the heroin, and like I said, I battled that for the better part of 15, 16 years. Right out of high school after the pills, I was introduced to that. I hung on to that. It made me feel a part of. It made me feel good. It made me feel confident. It made me, everything. Looking back now, it made me everything that I didn't want to be. I wound up in prison 3 different times. The sad part is I took my addiction with me. I had no clue about myself, the disease of addiction or anything. And throughout the 3 times that I was in prison, every single time I came home with a habit. I went to prison, got clean for a month or 2, and then used while I was incarcerated.
It's an interesting background that if I'm thinking that going back to high school, you were a track athlete or an athlete and probably did well. You didn't feel like you fit in well, and you started on drugs. And then I'm very curious. You mentioned that you were introduced to heroin. What was it, if you can think back to that point? What was it? And it sounds like where you're getting a higher high. I'm not sure that's the right term, but what you were doing was not doing for you whatever it is you wanted, and would it be fair to say you up-leveled to heroin, or is that what happened?
Well, there was a few different factors. The heroin was obviously a cheaper, more effective drug that was readily available on most all street corners in the area where I was going. Prescription pills would run out. They would become more costly when my buddy's mother didn't have them. Mm-hmm. And I always maintained a job. I didn't really pay my bills at all the times, but I definitely always maintained my drug habit.
Okay. So your drug habit became the top priority, that for whatever money you had, your money was going to go to pay for drugs, and then if you got behind in other things, that's just the way things work.
That's just the way it was.
And so...
I have a question. You said you didn't like people and you didn't trust people. Did something happen in your life that made you not trust or not want to trust people?
Not that I recall. Like I said, I remember playing sports as a kid and being involved, but I really never felt like I was involved. Like my parents didn't force me to play sports, I thought I wanted to do it, but looking back at it now, like I just never felt involved. I've never felt a part of anything.
Mm-hmm.
So basically not finding that niche that would have taken you into something you really enjoyed.
Absolutely. Never found it. I believe I found it today. In the program that I work, Narcotics Anonymous, it's just the friendships that I've built and relationships and all that has propelled me to where I stand today.
So Sean, it sounds like you would say that you, albeit it's maybe you may characterize it as difficult or somewhat different to be in the circle of friends, but you see the benefit of it and you're overcoming whatever inhibitions you had in the past to be able to make friends now. Is that a fair statement?
Absolutely. It was always difficult making friendships, but without using drugs and learning a little bit about myself, where I fall short of, and then, bouncing those things off to people that are in my circle, my sponsor, all that stuff, they're the ones that kind of help guide me through. And if I lean on them with something, then if I don't have the answer, I lean on them. And generally, if I ask 1, 2, or 3 different people that are, working any type of program, I'll come up with the answer that I need.
Okay, great. So what I'm hearing is that you have a support group in place now, and you feel very definitely that support group, they're here to help you do whatever you need.
Absolutely, 100%.
Okay, now take me back in time just a little bit. What was the breaking point? If you had a breaking point that, hey, I'm gonna, I don't know if you can do cold turkey to stop drugs, but there's something that hit you that I cannot continue this way any longer. Have I characterized that correctly?
Yes, I've had multiple breaking points. What got me to where I was introduced to this facility, this program that I'm involved in now, I was in a drug court program. I was on a methadone program. I was abusing Xanax, shooting methamphetamines, shooting heroin, and finally it got to the point where I was on my way back to prison, getting ready to violate a drug court program again for the second time. And they felt the need to give me another chance. They gave me an opportunity. Well, they locked me up, gave me an opportunity to go to treatment before they terminated my drug court. And something, while I sat for like 57 days waiting for a bed date to open, something clicked. And, there was a lot of things, like my dad died when I was in active addiction. My mother had been drugged through the mud throughout it all. My kids that I wasn't there for, I have 5 kids now. Something clicked at that point. Like there was, I didn't die through all the drugs and stuff that I did. And just something clicked, and I got out of jail on Christmas Eve, went to a treatment center for like a week. I had been locked up for a period of time, so they let me come to this program where I'm at now. And throughout the last 2 years, I've had ups and downs. I've had 2 different relapses, got almost a year clean, went back out, got almost 6 months clean, went back out. Now I'm back to the point where I have 6 months again.
I'm very curious, Sean, when you said you had multiple breaking points. To those of us who have never been involved in drugs, we sometimes think you got to hit rock bottom before you realize what's going on. I'm only curious, when you say breaking point, in hindsight, would you say you hadn't hit rock bottom yet, that there was a time when I can't get any lower than what I am, and that's what took you out of the drug addiction?
Like I said, there's nothing that specifically stands out to me that was my actual rock bottom, which is kind of weird. But like I said, I have multiple ones, and they all are revolving around my kids and not wanting them to grow up not knowing their father, and really just wanting to do right for the family that I have left.
What I heard you just say, Sean, is that maybe for the first time in a long time you were able to process rationally all the stuff you're doing. Now you have 5 children. I can't continue going the way I am. I've got to make a hard right turn or something of that nature. I'm very curious. Let's turn our focus to your 5 children. What would you tell your 5 children? You've been through it. Or what are some things you look for? What would you tell them? Do not get involved in drugs. And how would you maybe identify any trend in them that, man, I need to put attention to that child because?
The isolation that I, looking back at it now, the isolation would be a definitely key thing to zone in on. Their friend choices, like my parents weren't home a lot. They did work 2 jobs. Like I said, we did do family things. So like just paying attention to their choices of friends, being more proactive in their life, not just going to their sports games, just kind of like watching and seeing who they hang out with, what they do, how their friends act, how their friends' parents act, the places they go, and things like that.
Let's just suppose, for the sake of conversation, Sean, you just described Sean at an earlier age. Could I have intervened, or anybody have intervened in your life and just said, Sean, you're on the wrong track? Or did you have to go through some experience that nothing could have avoided you going the route you did?
I don't really think there was much avoiding it. I'm still hard-headed to this day. I got to learn things the hard way. If you tell me it's hot, I got to go touch it and figure it out on my own.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Okay, so let me project to your 5 children. Do you have a hard-headed, stubborn, or let's say a very strong-willed child?
Absolutely.
My guess is with 5, you have to have at least one. Let's just say
two that I can definitely.
Let's
identify.
just say that 2 of your children pretty closely replicate Sean. They are starting to be isolated, and everything you just described, Sean, as a dad, having gone through what you've gone through, would you just acquiesce to them that, sons, you have to just experience it, or do you think you could effectively intervene and keep them from going in the wrong direction?
My thoughts on that are ultimately they're going to make their own choices. The fortunate thing about that is I've been through it, so I can, God forbid if that does happen, to help guide them through. No one in my family was involved in a Narcotics Anonymous program, Alcoholics Anonymous, none of that. So God forbid that does happen, at least I have the knowledge of where and how to get them help.
And so how important would you say let's say a very functional, loving family is to help avoid a drug addiction?
I mean, I think it's very important. At the end of the day, it's choices that the kids make. I don't think it falls on the parents. I would never blame my parents for my disease. They did the best that they could. At the end of the day, it's the choices and the people that you hang around with. That if you want to be a winner, you hang out with the winner. If you want to be a loser, you hang out with the losers.
Fabulous. I hope the audience heard that. You want to be a winner, hang out with winners. If you choose to hang out with losers, you may follow that path as well.
Absolutely.
Sean, I will close by asking you, my sense is you're totally responsible and accountable for every decision you've made. If you had your life to live over again, you would make much different choices, but you are totally responsible and accountable for what has happened to you.
Absolutely, 100%. Like, I've made all the choices in life. I made the choices to be here, come back here twice, like I said, with relapses, and, a lot of guilt and shame comes with that, but I've overcome that twice just by being a part of something and other people believing in me.
Well, Sean, I want to give you as much encouragement as I can. I would encourage you not to try not to feel that guilt and shame. Stuff has happened. We've been through life. We can't reverse the past, but we can take today and move forward. And that's what this podcast series is about. Today and move forward. We're going to benefit from what we've learned from the past, own up to what we've done to make the decisions we've made. Sean, I just want to thank you on behalf of the listeners that you're very inspiring, very encouraging, that you're going to help a lot of us to make the right choice, but then be accountable for what choice we do make. And I appreciate you sharing your story with us.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
Contact us at ron@thecooperculture.com or marty@thecooperculture.com if you would like to get more information, or if you would like to discuss a strategic approach to how to help someone who needs encouragement to overcome their current life challenge. We're here to work with you, to help you and those within your circle of influence to overcome life obstacles. Marty and I have produced digital courses on relationships, interviewing skills, and overcoming financial challenges in dating and marriages that you can find by clicking on the store in the introductory page of this podcast series. We hope you will find these resources useful in your life journey. We look forward to establishing a dialogue with you, as our heart's desire is to establish a meaningful relationship with others. Let's all lead from and with the heart to show others we genuinely care.